welcome to another lesson. Let's start with theory once again from last week. So last week, here's the pages that you did. We were learning about just naming intervals once again. So remember we were counting like D to A is a fifth, right? G to B, what would that be? How many notes? Third, yeah, correct. And let's do one more. What about D to C? That is a 7. The 6. No, not a 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that is a 7th. So we're going to add on to what we learned last week and talk about interval qualities. So each interval, we've done this a tiny bit in music that we've been playing, but I haven't officially taught it to you yet. But every interval has a quality name which goes before it. So either major, minor, and there's actually a few more that we're going to learn in further lessons ahead. But major, minor, augmented is a word for a type of interval, diminished, and perfect. So today we will just be looking at major, minor, and perfect intervals. So in a major scale, all the intervals are built from the tonic of the scale, so the first note of the scale, are either major or perfect. Okay. So you can kind of think as default intervals, if you could say default. Major and perfect are almost like default intervals. So if we look at G major right here, G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. So if the lower note of an interval is G and the upper one is one that exists within the G major scale, we're basically saying it's major or perfect. So to say that way simpler, let's just step back and go in and take it very, very smaller and simpler. If I have an interval, like a third right here, so here's a major third, so G to B, a third. Now, you would have to, if you're naming intervals in a theory exam, you would have to say whether that third is major, minor, or perfect, basically, and then later on, augmented or diminished. So, the way to figure out whether it is major or minor, augmented or diminished, you would start by looking always at the bottom note. Now the bottom note says what scale, what key signature you are in. So G is your scale. Yep. So you're saying you're in G major here. So how many sharps does G major have? Remember from our circle of fifths that we were working on recently?
Just 1 sharp, F sharp.
F sharp, yes. So G major has 1 sharp, F sharp. So to keep it in a major scale, if there was an F, if the interval had an F up there, it would have to be sharp to be major.
Yeah.
Now this has a B, so it's G to B, and we know it's a third. But why is it major? When you think about the key signature, it doesn't make sense why it is major there.
Because B is
it
sharp or
flat
in
it's
the
natural.
G major scale?
Yes,
it's
exactly. So G to B is a major third because G major has a regular B, a natural B in it. So that is a major third. Now, to make it minor, if I lowered B to B flat, that would be a minor third because G major should have kind of your default is a major. It should be a B natural, but it's lower.
That makes sense.
So you always start do you know what I mean by it when I say the default?
Yeah, so it's just like what the scale, so G major has F sharp, so that's
yes, yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So
then what's perfect? What is that?
Well, so perfect intervals are always only fourths, fifths, I'll circle these right here, fourths, fifths, and then unison, of course, which we learned last week, 1,
right,
which is, and an eighth or octave.
Okay.
So perfect intervals, once again, unison, fourth, fifth, and octave. So, and then major intervals would be
all the other ones.
Leftover ones. They will either be major, minor, augmented, or diminished.
Okay.
So when you think about perfect intervals, they're almost perfect to the ear. So you're thinking they sound pleasing to the ear, G to C. When you think of the end of, in church, the ends of hymns,
Yeah.
you sometimes think it's like a fifth. So perfect intervals are, again, unison. What are the other ones that we said?
Fourth, fifth, and octave.
Octave, yes, correct. Okay, perfect. So now if we look at minor intervals, which we kind of talked about already, but how do you we've talked about major triads before, how do you change a major triad to a minor triad?
So you take the third and you just lower it.
Yes,
by
exactly.
Semitone.
Exactly. So similarly, a minor interval is one semitone smaller than a major interval. So you just go down.
And it's
one
always the
semitone.
middle, right? It's always the middle.
Yes, in a triad, but we would only have the two notes in an interval. Okay, so the important thing to note, to always remember, is to start with the bottom note and pretend that's your major scale that you're working with. And if it doesn't fit that default major, then you're like, oh, well, it has to be minor. It will be perfect minor. That as well. So if we look at this worksheet, let's just try the first few together, and then you can do the rest for homework. So
Okay.
here, this is a C to a G. Now, first of all, let's think, is that what key are we looking at?
C major.
C major. So does C major have G sharp or G flat?
No, there's no accidental.
Yes, exactly. So C to G would it be major or minor then?
It would be major.
Major. But because it's a fifth, and I'll write that on top of here so you remember, 1, 4, 5, and octave or eighth are perfect. So you never say it's a major fourth, it's always a perfect.
Oh, so this is a perfect.
So that is a perfect
fifth.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect. So,
perfect.
for next week, you're going to complete this worksheet, and we'll continue this and learn about diminished and augmented intervals, and kind of eventually we'll learn how to flip intervals as well, which is a fun
That sounds confusing.
but you'll be able to do it for sure. Okay, so now let's move on to scales and technique. We'll only do a few scales for today because I want to have enough time for pieces.
Okay.
Since our lessons are coming to an end soon, so let's only do a few scales. So we were reviewing last week the difference between harmonic and melodic A. Remember how sometimes you mix that up a bit?
Yeah.
But let's try D harmonic minor. Hands together. If you can, we'll see how it goes first.
Okay.
Let's just do the 2 octaves. Good. Okay. That was great. Let's try E flat major. E flat major.
Sorry.
So let's I was gonna review this fingering with you, but that second time when you went through that was correct. So remember, you start on the 3rd finger and 4 on A flat. So let's start 3rd. Yeah. Perfect. Okay. Let's also try, oh yes, okay. So let's try the dominant 7th. Remember, this is kind of new, but let's see if we can figure it out. Dominant 7th of A major. Just right hand for now. Solid. Yeah. Let's just do right hand to start. Good. Good. Okay. Sorry. Yes. Sorry. Diminished seventh.
I think I remember this. Is it?
You're close. So you're starting on the correct note, D minor, and you miss the seventh. Yes.
So you take.
So 1, 2, 3, 5. Yeah. Correct. Wonderful. And I'd recommend if you do finish your exam in the future, make sure, I'm not saying to do it staccato, but see if you can make them firmer each chord when you get to it. You can detach them, like don't pop them off like staccato, but strong, exact. Okay, so we can continue to work on that next time as well.
Okay.
So let's move on to Gavotte in G major. Now you've had this piece for just a few weeks, correct?
Yeah.
And you've been working on the notes.
Yeah. It's still not perfect.
It's still not perfect, that's okay. How about you try first by playing it the whole thing through once without repeats, and then we'll go over some of the little things to work on there as well. And don't worry about playing up to tempo, just play what you're comfortable at.
Okay.
Okay, so your notes are coming along better. There were still a few notes that weren't exactly accurate, but you're coming along for sure. Let's go over just right hand for this line here, bar 9 to bar, let's do bar 9 to bar 15. Just making sure you're following the fingering exactly and the correct note. So we can go slower, but just right hand for now. Good. 2, 3. Okay, pause for a minute. So what note value is this right here?
Quarter.
Yes, quarter note. So make sure you are doing 1 and 2 and 3 and. So remember this.
Okay.
This is the quarter note here, and then hold that. Oh, also, is there a G sharp here?
No.
No. Okay. So that should be just an E minor.
Okay.
Correct. Okay. So let's try right hand one more time, and then we'll keep going. 2, 3.
Sorry.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Good. 2, 3. 2, 3. Yep. Good. Okay. So the piece as a whole, let's pause and just talk about how it was composed and the reason behind. Now we've done other Baroque pieces before. Why would I say it's important to detach the left hand notes?
Just I guess so it's clear and it's not.
So it's clear. And when we think about Baroque music, what was important about Baroque music? What was different about Baroque music? What instrument did they play on instead of the piano?
The harpsichord.
Harpsichord, exactly. Now, often when you're playing Baroque music, the left-hand notes are detached. That's a major element of Baroque music that you want to watch for. And something called terrace dynamics. Now, we've talked a little bit about that before, but I want to go over it one more time. So, do you remember at all what the terrace dynamics were?
No. Is it just forte and piano, or?
It's basically, so it's a variety of dynamics, but composers such as Bach and Handel didn't write these crescendos or decrescendos at all. There's a few markings in here that they wrote, and sometimes later editions have crescendos and decrescendos, but they never wrote that in because the harpsichord, it's difficult to change dynamics quickly. So basically, you see the beginning has a mezzo forte, mezzo piano, and then forte, but there's no crescendos or decrescendos. It's sudden kind of changes. So basically, for a harpsichord has to add or take out registers to change the dynamic of a piece. So you can't do that at quick speed. If you're playing some fast piece, do you think you would suddenly be able to start diminishing and changing your registers while you're playing? Yeah, it'd be very difficult. So you almost have to add another set of strings for the harpsichord. So unlike the piano, if I were to say, how do you increase volume when you're playing piano? What do you do with your fingers?
I guess kind of tighten.
Yeah, tighten. But if I'm doing this, and if I'm
Okay,
doing this, yeah. So it's
Hit it
like
with
the strength of your finger. So in a harpsichord, the strength of your finger does not actually change the dynamics. So with a harpsichord, no matter whether you hit at a medium speed, not hit, but play the notes at a medium speed or a loud speed or a hard speed, hard amount, that doesn't really make a difference.
Okay.
It's unlike the piano.
So
Okay.
for this piece, then.
So this piece, I would say, you need to make those dynamic changes very clear. So this part, definitely forte. And another important part of Baroque music is kind of call and responses. We've seen that in other pieces, but there's kind of like the call here. And then this is almost like a response. That's a bit quieter. And then this again is a call. This is almost like a response.
Okay, so it's a bit quieter answer. Okay.
Yeah. So that's often used in Baroque music, but you have to remember to keep your fingers very light. So
Okay.
it's light articulation right there.
Okay.
So let's try one more time, just going through the whole piece, and then we'll move on to our next piece.
Okay.
Carefully playing according lightly, but still accurately, and thinking about your fingering, and also trying to remember to equally detach the left hand notes.
Okay.
Almost like sticky staccato.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Good. You can do a little bit louder. I'll just sing this. Good. Good. So that was better. That was better with the dynamics, and I think you interpreted them correctly to be terrace dynamics and not regular crescendos or decrescendos. So that was good. I appreciated your left hand, how you kept that consistently detached but not too staccato in a way as well.
Right.
And the slurs here are very important. important to continue to use that fingering. The three there as well. Okay, so that's good for this week. Next week we'll review those parts again and continue to work on the different important elements of this piece as well. So let's move on to our next piece, the Sonatina in C major. Now, this is more new, and last week I just kind of gave it to you, right?
Yeah.
So we didn't have too much time to really talk about it, but we've studied different parts of sonatinas before in theory. Do you remember kind of the three main sections of a sonatina at all? Do you remember any of the words?
The first was like exposition, was it?
Yeah.
And then development.
Yeah, development. Do you
And
remember
then
the last one?
Conclusion.
No. But you're close. So recapitulation.
Oh yeah, recapitulation. Exposition, development, recapitulation.
Yes. So exposition, development, recapitulation. And do you remember what the different parts kind of mean? Do you remember?
So exposition like introduces the ideas.
Yes.
Development. So basically, what's been exposed, it gets developed, I guess.
Yeah.
And then recapitulation is just repeating, kind of.
Similarly, yes.
Somewhat.
So I'll start with exposition. You're correct. Theme 1, theme 2. Main theme is developed, is introduced. Sorry, I shouldn't use the word developed. The main theme is introduced.
Okay.
And then that part ends, and then here you can see the development. So here, often the development is in a minor key,
Okay.
and often it kind of plays on that theme, because when we were talking about this last week, the main theme, now development. So here, that main theme is still in there, but it's in a different key now, and it's kind of transitioned a bit.
Okay.
And then we come back to the recapitulation here. Main theme, but it's a bit different. It's not in the same register, and it's, as you can see, it's not the same amount of lines, so it's a bit different.
Okay.
Often the main theme's still there. It's very similar, but it can transition a little bit.
Okay.
So at this level, we're just going to talk about those three: exposition, development, recapitulation, and then there's obviously repeats in here as well that you can continue to play, and then you go back to the development. So let's try. How about we try just the first page for today, just the exposition, and let's see how that goes.
Okay. So C major.
Watch your repeated notes there on your fingering.
Okay.
Be careful for these rests. These
Oh,
are
so
all rests.
take off the
you
left
need to
hand.
yes. So
Okay.
lift off. I can't reach.
Okay.
So really making those breaks in the left hand clear.
Very obvious. Okay.
And there's also some restless here, so remember to take off your left hand right there.
Okay.
Now, you played it a bit with some phrasing. There's not too many dynamics written in here, but if I were to play this part, where do you think it's leading to right here? I'm just going to start in that second line right here with the right hand. Do you think that, where is it leading anywhere? I'll try one more more time with the left hand.
Maybe like in the middle. So
Yeah, so where exactly do you mean? Yeah, exactly. That's exactly where I would lean to where I crescendo. Yeah. I would definitely crescendo to there. And be careful here. How do you think this sounds compared to?
less harsh, I guess.
Yes, less harsh.
So not hitting it. But
So that's, yes. So you're moving up. So you're da 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 da, like a slur. Down, up, 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 down, up, up, up. So like we have done with other slurs, it's almost like a sigh, right? So down, up, down, up. Yes. So make sure those aren't too loud as well. Now let's just quickly try the development, just those 2 lines there, and just you can just stop right there and just play how you've been practicing. We'll add a few things. So I added that E flat right there.
okay.
Now this part, a development we said is often minor, right? It's almost like they're playing with different parts of the theme. I would say almost mysterious sometimes.
Okay.
So you can kind of tone this part down a little bit. Here's forte. It's marked forte. But as you can see, which hand would you say would be the louder? If right hand is playing all octaves, same notes the whole time, and the left hand's playing a variety of notes, which note would you think, which hand would you think you should bring out?
The left hand, because the right's all the same.
Yes. So the right hand's rotating G, 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 G.
Okay.
The left hand has that variety. But I would still, it goes F, G, D, G, E flat, G, C, G. So that G, it's tempting for your pinky finger to really fall hard there. So make sure you're
Emphasizing the
thumb right
Okay.
there, because that's where that melody is. Da, 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 and then it keeps
Okay.
going, right?
Should I try that?
So make sure, yes, try that.
Okay.
Try both hands right there.
Sorry.
Good. That was a lot better too. So continue to work on that this week,
Okay.
and we will work on this more next week and look at the recapitulation. But remember dynamics. Remember, I'm going to kind of let you work with how you think dynamics and crescendos and decrescendos should look like this week.
Okay.
Tell me, play just right hand melodies and see where you feel like it's leading,
Okay.
and then we'll go over that more next week as well.
Okay.
Okay? Does that sound good for
That
today?
sounds good.
Okay, thank you
Thank
very
you
much.
so
See you
much.
later.